Hello and welcome to the fourth and final instalment of the Atrium's textile project for the month of August with me, Claire. Now, over the past few weeks we've visited lots of different techniques regarding sewing, embroidery and printmaking. And this week we're going to bring all of our skills together to apply them to your final product, which is a tote bag and a pencil case. And hopefully you'll use the additional materials in your packs to create some more artwork for the exhibition that's being held in December at the Atrium Gallery. I also want to touch on the other paperwork that's in your pack that you might have noticed, which is the artist critique and the artist statement. So we'll get cracking, and I'm not going to make this video as long as last week because I know it was quite a long one. So we're not going to be doing as much practical, but you can always look back on the other videos that have been posted to sort of see how the skills have been developed. Now, in your pack you will have your plain tote bag and your plain pencil case. Now don't worry if you make a mistake, we've got plenty more at the studio, so just get in touch if you need a replacement. What I would do is start off with your printmaking. If you decide to use any of the techniques that we covered last week, let that dry and then go in with your sewing. This will sort of just reduce the mess that'll be made when you're making your products, and it'll give you sewing and embroidery a cleaner look as well. So speaking of putting on the printmaking first, I've designed this repeat pattern onto one of the tote bags. I know I covered this a little bit last week talking about repeat patterns, so it's using the same print that you've made. This one was out of polystyrene, you probably remember going through it last week, and sort of applying it and then taking it and applying it again in a repeat fashion to create an overall design. So just so you can see, this is the print that I made, just the basic circle print. Remember, we use our blunt pencil to create the lines. I've then turned it over and printed it multiple times to create the overall design. And like I said, I'm not going to sort of go through every step because it does take a really long time on camera. So I think I'm going to get this ready for the exhibition. So I'm going to give myself a lot of time to do it. Sort of don't rush these, you've got all the way up until December. So, you know, take your time with it. Really think about what you're trying to create and make it fun as well. For example, I might want to go around these circles with a back stitch or a threaded back stitch just to bring them out a little bit more. I might want to go around all of the edges with maybe a whipped double running stitch to make it look sort of framed. So this is just kind of the first step in my design for the tote bag. But I want you to really look at the artist statement, and this is about your specific piece of work that you'll enter into the exhibition, and it'll sort of ask you questions like, what does your piece show, what emotions you're trying to get across. And some people might not sort of think that way and they might not want to put a lot of emotion into their work, and that's fine, but some people might. It asks about your style and what techniques you've used. So you'll know all of the techniques because you can revert back to the videos and get all the names and everything like that. It asks you what you would change about your artwork in the future, so you're sort of reflecting on your artistic practice. And you might also want to add any influences. Has anyone influenced your artwork? Is there a certain artist that you're sort of basing your work on? Or is it inspired by a recent event, something that's happening in the world right now, or an event that's happened to you in the past? So yeah, just go with it and have fun with it. It's all about just having fun. So speaking of the artist statement, this is the piece of paper that you'll find in your project pack, and these are just some questions that sort of are trying to prompt an answer, but you don't have to answer every single one of them. You can just simply write the title of your piece if you want to give it a name, your name, and then just a little bit about yourself. You could do like a general sort of about me, or you could go more deeper into it by answering more of these questions, but it's totally up to you. You'll also, while I'm on this section, you'll also find this artist critique, and I thought this would be a good idea just kind of socially as well within the Atrium sort of community, you could pick another member and sort of send your work to them, and they can send their work to you, and kind of do a little critique on their work. And it's not kind of criticising it or anything nasty like that. It's kind of just making you a better artist. So it'll ask what their first impression of your piece was. Sort of, what does the artwork look like to you? And that might not necessarily be what it looks like to the creator. It's just kind of like asking these questions to get a better understanding of how your art appears to other people. This is totally optional, so I thought it would be a nice little social kind of activity to get people involved and talking. So have a go if you want. There's also a little bit of a prompt of describing and explaining, so if you're having a little bit of trouble filling out the form, of course get in touch. I'll be available all the way up until December, for any questions. But it gives you a few prompts of how to answer the questions. And then I think I've also added a little bit about critiquing another piece of art, so you'll find these as well. It's kind of just an analysis of how you find this piece of art. So if you don't feel confident getting in touch with another member, you can always fill this out. And it's a similar kind of thing, so it's your first impressions, what techniques you think they've used, and what the artist is trying to portray, and how the piece makes you feel as well. So I just popped that in. If anyone wants to have a little go, by all means. So moving on to the pencil case, when you come to design yours, so I have decided to use the print that I made last week with the Atrium on it, and it does look quite faded on this one. I think it's the way that I use my brush strokes, and I think I printed it once and it was too much, so then I printed it again and it's kind of came up a little bit faded. But I kind of like it, and I think it will benefit from some embroidery to bring out the lettering, and maybe it's a nice design. So I am actually going to go off camera and design this and come back to show you sort of what I've been working on. This is an example of when it doesn't go quite right, and you can see I've lost the R and I've lost kind of a little bit of the I. So like I said before, don't worry if you make a mistake, just get in touch and we'll get some more pencil cases and tote bags to you. So I'm going to nip off camera for a while and sort of bring this, like, because you'd look at it and think, yeah, it's not the best, but when you sort of put a bit more embroidery in, we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it'll look a lot better. But I'm happy with how the letterings came out. It's just a little bit sort of faded and it blends into the background. So I'll see you in a sec. So I've been off camera for about half an hour now, and this is what I've came up with so far. So I've used some quite bold pieces of thread to outline the text and the border of the print, and I think it is quite effective, and you can definitely see those letterings coming through. I think I'm going to finish this off ready for the exhibition in December, but I'm also going to add a bit more printmaking around the edges, maybe add a border. What I would say when working with the tote bag and the pencil case is that they're kind of a double-sided sort of piece of fabric, so be careful not to put your needle all the way through at the other end, because then your pencil case won't open. So just all I've done is stuck my hand in and very carefully sort of guided the needle through so that it didn't reach the other side. And it's exactly the same with the tote bag as well. You wouldn't want to sort of put a lot of effort into your embroidery or, sewing, and then for it to have went through the other side, and you'd have to kind of undo what you've done. So just be very mindful when you're creating that. And finally, also, you'll find in your pack quite a few odds and ends, bits of fabric. There's quite a large piece of Hessian fabric, which kind of has little holes. It's similar to how the binker is, but it's not as accurate. So you can kind of use that as a guidance for the binker, because it is quite straight lines, but they're not evenly spaced as such. But it is still a nice sort of background for your embroidery. You'll find quite a bit of felt that you can practice your embroidery and sewing on, and you can also print onto. So that's there if you wanted to create any additional artwork for the exhibition. If you have any questions, get in touch, and I'll be available for individual sort of tutorials if anybody needs that. So that's sort of everything I wanted to cover in this video. I know it's been quite brief this week, only because the last video was very long, and it is quite hard to keep everybody focused for that amount of time all in one session. So if you have any questions about anything we've covered, we've kind of looked at how we apply our prints in a repeat pattern, how we would tackle a print that hasn't came up very sort of how we wanted it to come up. So again, it's a little bit blurry, let it focus. So I'm kind of saving that. Hopefully I'll have it ready for Thursday, and I'll post a picture of how it turns out with like the additional prints and stuff on it as well. The reason I haven't went through everything, sort of sewing it and everything on camera, is because we're all individual and we'll all have our own ideas, and I'd rather speak to people on a one-to-one basis for that. But if anyone does have any questions, then please get in touch either through the YouTube comments on this video, the Atrium Community Facebook page, or give Catherine a ring at the Atrium and she'll pass on a message to me to get in touch. So that's no problem at all. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I've really enjoyed sort of getting these techniques across over these past few weeks. It's been quite a different sort of thing for me. I've not really done anything like this before, so it's been really fun. Remember to take pictures of everything that you make, and you can post those pictures onto the Atrium community page to show all the other members what you've been up to as well, and you might even inspire somebody to create something as well. So again, I've really enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, please get in touch. Thank you very much. Bye.